The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hi, my name is Leo Connors, and welcome to The Ring and All Other Sports. Tonight, I got two special guests as part of my four-part series in Families in New England, Independent Wrestling, Nick and Ben Carcieri.
You got it.
You got it. Good job.
It's the first time I've said their name right on this show because we've never met.
Right. This is true.
Guys, very, very excited to have you. It's great to meet you. I
Thank
met you real quickly at New World Wrestling. Extreme.
Correct.
But first time meeting your dad.
Thank you very much for having me.
My pleasure. All right, so obviously, Nick, you were a fan first of wrestling?
Yeah, I'm 50 years old. I don't have a problem saying that. And so growing up, like in the 80s, like most kids, Hulkamania, everything, that was the heyday. It was, I was a big fan back then. And I remember, my dad, I think it was still closed caption then, or maybe, closed circuit, or maybe it was pay-per-view, but those early, WrestleManias.
Right.
My dad would pay the money and we'd get it and watch it. And so I was a fan growing up. And then, like most things, you go in and out. And then the sort of the 90s, the Attitude Era kind of brought me back in, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and all that. So I've always been a fan of it, and then, I've told the story a couple times. The day he was born in the hospital, it was a Thursday, and at that time they were doing SmackDown on Thursday nights.
Right.
So I'm holding him and I'm watching SmackDown. He's a few hours old and we're watching SmackDown on TV in the hospital. So it was,
That's awesome. So your
things.
Dad was a fan too, or he just did it for you?
Well, no, I think he was a fan, but not a real hardcore wrestling fan. I think he just enjoyed it. He enjoyed the show, and it was just something for the kids, and we could watch it. And
That's awesome. Very cool. All right, were you a magazine kid?
Not the wrestling magazine. I grew up. When I was in high school in the 80s. That was all the Circus, Hit Parade, or all the music magazines, but not much of the. Once in a while you'd pick up like a Pro Wrestling Illustrated or something.
I always ask that because I'm I got like 1,000 magazines.
Oh, yeah.
So I always ask that. How about you? Did you like any of the magazines when you first started?
Voice cracked. I had like a few, and then it was just like, then with all the online stuff coming out, I was like, well, why don't I just look at it online?
Right. See, you're lucky you were able to do that. I was a fan my whole life since I'm older than you. So since 1972, next year will be 50 years of wrestling fan.
Wow.
So I would buy the magazines, which made me all of a sudden realize there's wrestling everywhere.
Yeah.
I thought they were just wrestling around here.
But I had a conversation about sort of those days recently, just how it was back then versus now. Like, matches were going on. Sometimes you didn't know about the matches till you got the magazine.
Right.
Now with the information age, stuff is out there really quick. But it was a different time back then. Like, oh my God, what happened? You have to look at these magazines,
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Ben, do you remember the first time you saw wrestling? And I'm sure you don't remember the day you were born, but do you remember the first time you were like, wow, this is cool? Obviously he was watching it. You know what I mean? But
Well, I was watching WWE with my grandpa growing up. And I remember, I think the first time I was drawn to it was ironically the night of CM Punk's pipe bomb.
Oh.
And then it wasn't until December that that year, 2011, that I went to my first live show. And I was pretty much hooked the whole time. Hooked from after that. I was like, I'm in.
Nice.
And then here we are, 10 years later.
And you're in the business.
Yeah, go figure.
That's cool. Followed your dream, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What was the first wrestling show you went to then? Was it a WWE?
Yes, it was. They were doing it was a house show over in Hartford at the XL Center, and it was the main event. I think it was CM Punk versus someone. I forget, but that was my first ever live event. I don't remember much from it, but I just remember after that night, I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do.
Right. Well, you mentioned Punk twice. Are you a CM Punk fan?
Yes.
Yeah. I am too. And even though I met him many times, and he wasn't the nicest guy when I was doing
No, that's what I've heard.
But I still one of my friends, Dave, he always says to me, I hate Punk. I'm like, I don't like him as a person, but how can you not watch him? He's so entertaining.
I've always said, and I've had this conversation, like I've always thought that WWE, when they've been really good, they usually have those two guys at the top. Like, you know, back then it was like, you know, Hogan and Macho Man, you know, and it was like Stone Cold and The Rock. And then it was like the Cena Punk stuff was great. And, you know, fans get kind of divided, you know, and that's when WWE was always really at its best, you know. And, you know, him, you know, he was a big Punk fan. And his sister, she doesn't know anything about it. But just to be the sister, you know, she's like, I'm a John Cena guy. He's just to, you know, just to be like, you know. I remember we were watching some pay-per-view, one of them, and, you know, and she's cheering for John Cena just to, you know,
Will you get mad at her?
Yeah, just to get under her brother's skin, you know. But that's like siblings.
Siblings, gotta love it.
You know,
that is great.
You know.
All right. So off air we talked, and I was really surprised about this. Why don't you tell me how you got started in the wrestling business and when it was, and then we'll go with you, Ben, next.
Sure. So about 10 years ago, you know, through some life changes, as a lot of families go through, I found myself, you know, like single dad, you know, and, you know, and I had always been a fan of wrestling, and we had watched it on TV. And then one day I see, in East Greenwich, Rhode Island, outside the Varnum Armory, just signed live pro wrestling tonight. And I went, you know, never been to like an indie show or whatever, but all right, let's go check it out, you know. And we go in, and, you know, there's the folding chairs, the ring, you know, the ring's right in the middle. There's no guardrails. I'm like, this is kind of cool. And, you know, all the wrestlers are there. And that show, the promotion, their champion, I don't know if do you know Len Oddity? Have you?
Oh, yeah, I know Len. Yeah. So I actually ring announced 3 times. And he was on 2 of the shows.
Len was the champion. So he comes out before the show, and he's all made up and everything. And I'm like, who's this guy?
He looks great when he does that. Too.
Yeah. And, but, you know, he like took pictures with Ben. Ben got to hold the belt.
Nice.
All the wrestlers, you could just kind of talk to them. And then the main event was, you know, Len and Jose Perez, you know. And so there's pump, you know, like outside in the thing right in front of us, you know, it just kind of, and it was kind of cool. And then so like we started, you know, kind of finding more of these little indie shows, and we would just go as fans and everything. But the first time I kind of, you know, made that, I guess you want to call it, you know, from transition of fan to, I was at a show, and you know Mike Grassa? You know Mike?
Yes.
Great kid. Known Mike a long time. So he's in a match. Yes.
Yes.
So he's in a match. He gets hit by this guy who was doing the La Parka USA gimmick. Mike drops like a stone, and I'm like, so I look around, and I said to the guy in charge, do you have any, you know, medical people here? Because in real life, I'm a paramedic, I'm a firefighter. He's, no, so okay. So I get in the ring, and now Mike's unconscious. So I wake him up, bring him down to the locker room. He's got a concussion, but I just kind of hang with Mike down to the locker room, check him out and everything. But so then I started kind of, okay, so I put together a little first aid kit, you know, I put in my, you know, with some ice packs and things, and I would just kind of be the guy, and I would kind of be the medical guy.
That's
you know,
cool.
and every once in a while somebody needed an ice pack, and I'd wrap them up, you know. And so that was kind of how I started to kind of cross that line a little bit. You know, and then, you know, you meet people along the way, and I know you had T Phoenix and AJ up here, and, you know, T is with the RWA, the Renegade Wrestling Alliance. We started going to their shows, and then one night it was the camera guy didn't show up. So, you know, I was like, well, I'll hold a camera. Yeah. So I hold a camera. Yeah. So it was like these little things started happening, and then eventually I wanted to get more involved. So, you know, Brickhouse Baker, he was running trainings. And I showed up, you know, and I had known Brickhouse, you know, we had, you know, so I show up to training one night, and he's looking at me, what are you doing here? I said, I want to learn how to be a referee. So he was like, all right. So that was where and then.
Very cool.
Now here we are.
Nice. And that was when exactly? 2018?
I think, late 2017, early 2018, when I, you know, had my sort of first kind of, you know, introduction to going to training and that sort of thing. So, yeah.
How about you, Ben? When did you start? Which I was so surprised after you say like it was so close. Like I said, I just assumed you was in the business a lot longer.
You would think. So like I tagged along with Dad for a little bit, going to like different independent shows, like between like RWA, XWA, amongst a few others. And then late 2018, that's when I really was like, I want to like push forward with the wrestling thing. And so Dad started taking me to some Brickhouse's trainings. I was able to get in the ring, learn from a great trainer, somebody who definitely knows what he's doing in the ring. And then House of Bricks was running, so I was primarily wrestling for them for like majority of 2019. And then, which I'm so sad that promotion's done. Like that was if you've ever been to one of those shows, they always were a good time.
Right.
And then just recently, Sad started running Watch This Fight, which was like late 2018, I think. Was it?
Yeah.
You're running Watch This Fight, which that helped kind of like get me more because it's my dad's promotion, so I'm able to kind of help out a little more. And then because of that, I was able to start working for like RWA, just most recently NRG and NCW.
Nice.
And here we are.
NCW, that John Casey.
Yeah,
And
JC.
then Davey Cash at NRG.
Yes.
Nice. Excellent. All right. Ben, when did you tell your dad you wanted to wrestle? Do you remember that?
Must have been like some like random car ride.
Yeah, it was probably around that time,
Right.
around that, like 2017, and I think I made him wait till like 2018 because, he was, 2017, he's only 16. So I think, let's wait another year, and his mother was a little nervous,
Yeah.
I remember one particular show. I think it's the only show your mother's ever been to. And he took a super kick from AJ Hot, took it beautifully, sold it perfectly. I saw the look on his mother's face, and she's looking at me. I'm going, no, it's fine. And then, so I go into the back. I said, go tell your mother you're fine,
Yeah.
I don't think she's been since, but,
Right. I got to tell you real quick. So seeing you said that and how, your wife was like so upset. My ex-wife with my son, she bought the pay-per-view that when Owen Hart died.
Oh, yeah.
And he was crying,
Yeah.
so she calls me up and she's yelling at me, you know what I mean? And she's like, I'll never do this again. I can't believe this. And it was a horror show. She hated wrestling for a long time. Did he try to talk you out of it though?
You never really
No?
did.
No.
You're always like, it's like you always like help like we're more like pushing forward.
Yeah, I always, from the beginning, I told him, if you want to do this, it's great, but you're going to learn to do it the right way.
Right.
You're going to, don't just, that was my thing. If you want to do this, you're going to learn to do it the right way. And Brick House was a great foundation.
Absolutely.
So I was like, you're going to learn to do it right and safe and,
Nice. All right. Do you remember the first company that booked you on the same show?
Well, the first one I was House of Bricks. That was kind of, Brick House, all his students were, that was always, the kind of the first one was House of Bricks. And then, after that, it was, I was kind of in that trying to get, ring time. And there was like little promotions like RICW, MAW, they were just, they would run at the Chop Shop, and it was a great way to kind of get in and get ring time. And then once I kind of got a little ring time and got a little more comfortable in there, RWA, and that's RWA, I've branched out, but RWA is always my home.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. All right, Ben, when you first started wrestling, were there any veterans other than Brick House or your dad that gave you some good advice? And if you do you remember what some of them were?
I think Brick House was like the primary guy.
Yeah.
But like obviously guys like Dick Lane would help me out a little bit. Working with guys like Stephen Lust, obviously AJP.
Yeah.
As far as like legit veterans, nothing taking anything away from them, obviously, but like older guys, Johnny Vegas actually gave me some really good advice too.
Nice.
So every time I see him, he would always give me some advice, which I thought that was very awesome of him.
Yeah.
And he didn't have to do that, but I very much appreciate the fact that he was willing to do that.
Excellent.
Yeah, there was, Brick House, House of Bricks. He had, a lot of the, sweet Scott Ashworth and,
Right.
Pat Garrett. Those guys were always around, and they were always good to the young guys coming up, and,
Big guys.
yeah. Big guys. But it was kind of, when you're starting out, it's kind of good to have those sort of guys who've been around a while. And they always,
absolutely.
good guys to be around. Always had, good words of advice and whatnot.
Excellent.
I got to work Sweet Scott Ashworth, and it was awesome.
You guys don't have like an impersonation of him, do you?
No,
Because he's
no.
so, you know what I mean?
But,
Some people do it.
Yeah.
I pop every time.
Uh,
Did you ever get nervous watching him wrestle?
watching Ben wrestle?
Yeah.
I mean, Yeah, as a father and a son, yeah, but I knew that, like most of I'll say, most, probably all the guys I know that he's been in the ring with, like I know them, I know they're good guys, I know they're going to take care of them, and it's, and they all know who he is and where he is in his progression.
Right.
So they're going to, ironically, the ones that have, kind of you get nervous about sometimes are like just the battle royals, because anything can happen in those,
And that's a lot of guys get their first start.
Yeah,
So they
everybody. That's where everybody.
Yeah.
Is,
they don't know what they're doing. Some guys,
But overall,
not as much. Say.
Overall, like I guess as a father son, there's always a little bit.
Yeah,
but
as a father, I thought you were probably.
But the other side of that too is we would always be training together every week, so I knew he was getting to, so it makes it a little easier.
Right. And it's a tight knit group at the House of Bricks. Well, it was.
Yeah.
All right. Have either of you suffered any like serious injury?
Not yet.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll knock on wood for that.
Yeah, exactly. I was looking for nearest wood. Here it is.
Early on in training, now Brickhouse's philosophy, when I started training, Brickhouse is like, okay, you want to be a referee, that's fine, but you got to learn to be a wrestler, because if you're going to referee, you got to learn the wrestling part of it. So I learned how to, and there was, ironically, I want to say it was AJ. It was supposed to be, he's got me in a full Nelson and I'm supposed to slide out and roll back. And, it's one of these spots. Brickhouse was notorious. Okay, he'll just call, 8 things a spot you're going to do. So I slide down, boom. And I, my own fault, I just whacked my head and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I knew as soon as I hit my head, like I said, I'm a paramedic. I'm like, all right, so I knew I had a little bit of a concussion and that was about the worst of it, and the other, Mike Foster, Mike Foster?
Yes, I know who he is. I've never met him.
Okay, so, he's been around a while,
Yeah,
So again, everybody starts in a battle royal, I'm in a battle royal, like 2 seconds in, elbow right to my lip from Foster's, bust my lip off, just silly things like that. But nothing too bad,
He has the Australian gimmick, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm glad I remembered who he was exactly.
Yeah.
Have you seen, we're on the injury thing, have you seen any like injuries that you were like, whoa, man, like some bad, from anyone?
The Grasso one was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, that was about the worst. I've been around long enough, and and said I was that guy for a while. And anytime I'm at a show, go get Nick, go check on this guy. Nothing too bad. Seeing like one of the guys from Team España, although I think they're the Hispanic mechanics.
Yes.
Great couple of guys, but separated his shoulder, in one show. So that was probably the worst. Most guys, you don't want to see get hurt.
Right.
When you're in the ring, everybody takes care of each other, but it is a physical thing and stuff happens.
All right. Ben, besides your dad, I'm sure you look, who else do you look up to in the business, enjoyed working with, and who would you like to work with in the future?
Oh, if we're talking about who I'd like to, we can go on all night.
Well, you can throw a couple out there for sure, so they know.
All right, so for people I want to work, definitely BRG, because I've known him for a long time.
Yeah.
And we've always been pretty good friends. So I would love to one day be able to actually like mix it up with him, because he's a really good wrestler, really good heel. And yeah, because we know each other, I feel like we could actually put on a pretty good match.
Nice.
Another one add to the list is Channing Thomas.
Oh.
That guy is phenomenal. And he's come such a long way. And since like the first time I saw him, which was like 2018, I want to say. Yeah.
Was he Timmy Thunder?
I think he's always Timmy Thunder. I mean, he'll always be Timmy Thunder.
Always.
He might be Channing Thomas, but he's always Timmy Thunder.
He'll always be Timmy Thunder.
He has come a long way, like you said.
Oh, absolutely. That guy is
Incredible.
amazing. One of the best wrestlers in this area today.
Absolutely.
By far.
And I love he throws in that European style, too.
Yeah.
He's got
Yes.
the American
Yes.
and European. Nobody else is doing
Yeah,
that.
I've been lucky. I've been able to work a few of his matches,
Oh, nice.
and it's been good.
Yeah.
I enjoy. There's guys that I like to work their matches. He's definitely one of them. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anyone else you want to add before I move on?
I'm trying to think. Put me on the spot. I would definitely love to work AJ and Chud again, because those two, every time I've been in the ring with them, has always been really good, and I trust them a lot.
Right.
Dick Lane, which has been meaning to happen a couple times. That's definitely a match I would love to do. Pretty much anyone in that NCW roster,
Okay.
I would love to mix it with, because I know pretty much everyone on that crew. So
Right.
You asked a loaded question.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's all right,
exactly.
though. That's good. But you brought up Dick Lane, and when I do that, with everything that's been going on, still sending you love.
Yeah.
Dick Lane, thoughts and prayers, love for
Yeah,
you
Dick.
and your family.
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about your company.
Okay.
Watch This Fighting
Yes.
Wrestling. Can you take us through a typical show day?
Typical show day. Well, there's no such thing as typical. Anybody who's been on that side of it will tell you it was. I'll tell you I started the company because it's based on. I'll tell you really quick. So a couple of years. It was probably 2016. A friend of mine, Joe Vanaco, who was a Providence firefighter, passed away from cancer.
Okay.
And so he had 4 kids. So I wanted to do something for his kids. So I got all my wrestling friends together. Now I hadn't gone to any training or whatever. I just sort of put it out there. Hey,
Right.
So we put on a show. I wanted these kids, and I wanted these kids who they just lost their father. We wanted to give them an afternoon just to be kids,
Yeah.
just to kind of, So we put on a show. We raised a little bit of money, for a fund for them. But mostly it was about just giving these kids a day just to
Right.
kind of forget about what happened. And they cheered and they laughed, and it was good.
Right.
So that was in 2016. And then a couple of years later in 2018, now I'm a little bit more involved in the business. One of the guys on my job, his son, Lorenzo, was going through leukemia. So I said, I want to do this again. So again, I got everybody together. And where Watch This Fight came from was Joe Vanaco, when he was going through cancer, they used to have the bracelets. They would say, watch this fight on it.
Right.
So when I was going to do the other show, I reached out to his widow, Erin. I said, I'd like to kind of continue, because Joe was the inspiration. I want to continue his message. Do you mind if I use Watch This Fight? And she was like, she loved it. She's like, no, absolutely. So Watch This Fight Wrestling was born. So we do these, charity shows. We've done 10 shows so far, different either families or organizations.
Right.
So, and it's been pretty good. It's been a lot of fun. But to get back to your original question, a typical show day is, leading up to the show, you're putting the card together, you're booking everything, whatever you need to do, and then inevitably things go wrong. Last minute things. Our last show, a couple of guys that were coming from New York, family emergency. Okay, so it's the morning of the show. Now I'm moving people around on the card.
Now, was it just 2 people coming from New York?
Yeah, it was just 2. It was just 2. But
Nice, it
that
was
okay.
powerful.
It's like no. It was like okay. Well, now they're not coming. So no, I need a new tag team to guys, and I got to move this guy around.
Yeah.
I mean that's the nature of it.
Right.
And and then you're setting up the ring, and there's always a whole a lot of things. It's like getting stuff set up, getting the ring
Right.
set up. Worrying about the card. Do I have to make changes to the card? By the time the show gets there, you're like, okay, now let's just have a show.
Right. Stressful day, huh?
Yes, but no. I laugh because my real job, I deal with real emergencies,
Right.
real life and death,
Yeah.
real. So wrestling, it's not really going to phase me. But it's a little. You give it that. I was like, I give it my first little.
Right.
Okay, but now we just work the problem. That's like anything else.
Nice.
So.
Now, did you run your shows in the same place all the time?
We started in the Chop Shop when in Pawtucket, but then through the pandemic, when the Chop Shop went away, so the last show we ran was in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. I'm friendly with the guy who runs Kingston Bowl, so he let us use his parking lot. We set up the ring outside in the parking lot. We had lights up and chairs. It was a good
Nice.
setup. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Let's just talk a little bit more. I'm going to ask you questions about your show. Did you book the show, or did you hire? Did you have someone else book your show?
The first couple of shows, T was a big, I would ask T a lot of
Right.
questions, and so he kind of helped me but once I kind of figured it out, you kind of around a little while and you see guys, all right, I think this is a good match, and so you kind of put stuff together and, sometimes it works. Some matches I've put together have been really good. Some, you're kind of, well, I missed it,
Right.
but it's kind of fun. The Watch This Fight stuff. We do have some stories, but we don't run every month. So we don't have to worry so much about, so sometimes it's just about, let's just put on the best show we can
Yep.
and try to put matches together that maybe you won't see other places. I try to kind of put things together that you don't just see everywhere.
Right.
So it's kind of, and it's a little more relaxed. So guys let's just have fun and put on a show. And
Nice. How about some of your favorite matches that you've been in at your dad's shows that he's promoted?
Trying to think of like, this wasn't on his show, but he said favorite match is easily me and AJP from the RWA Student Showcase. Because when you get basically wrestling my best friend,
Right.
someone who I've known for years. So we just we click immediately. We just know what we're doing. We trust each other. And we were like match 7 and we both were just kind of like, let's steal this damn show. And it's
a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and we had the whole crowd in our hands that whole match, and it was amazing.
Nice. Before I move on to that, I got a couple of testaments
Oh boy.
from the Phoenixes.
The Phoenixes.
Okay? We'll start with the youngster, AJP. Nick doesn't get enough praise for his charitable contributions. I'm forever grateful to have been able to represent the cause, and above all else, I'm honored to call such a generous soul a family.
That's very nice.
Ben, you may be a little older than me, but I'm definitely your big brother in wrestling.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm proud of everything you've done in the ring. Most notably, of course, the match you and I had just before the chop shop closed for good. You're just as much a part of this family as anybody else, and that match proved it. Next time, though, I'm telling you, I'm gonna knock you out with I'm letting you out. I'm not letting you out when I hit my finisher. Winky face.
We shall see about that, AJ.
And then from his dad, T. Pretty hard to top what AJ said. He hit the nail on the head. Nick is first class all the way. Always there with the helping hand or a shoulder to lean on. Both inside and outside the business. I'm beyond thankful to have him in my life. And he followed that up with, shut up, Ben.
Yes.
I figured you.
That's yeah.
Yeah?
That's perfect.
The greatest inside joke of all of New England wrestling.
Right.
I mean, what they said is it means a lot. I mean, the T is one of my best friends,
Right.
inside and outside. And AJ, I've known him, so long. He's, they're like brothers. He's like my other, you look
Yeah.
out for him like you're like my
Nice.
own kid, and
It was only a matter of time before the shop Ben came about in here.
Yeah.
It was only a matter of time.
Right. No, that's awesome. All right. Let's see. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
5 years. Definitely on some the bigger promotions here in New England.
Nice.
Which ones will they be? I don't know. It's 5 years from now.
Right.
But I'm just relatively speaking, trying to be realistic. That's where I see myself amongst the bigger, maybe a Chaotic or APW or trying to think of others off the top of my head.
Top rope.
Limitless, any of those.
Right.
Anywhere in particular, I'm open to.
Nice. Excellent. And if you notice, I don't know if you know, but Chaotic is now not just really using their students and bringing in talent from other places.
Yes.
They're using some of the local guys, like, for instance, Alec Price has been getting booked.
yeah.
He's so good.
Oh, he really is. He
I remember
really
he
is
used to,
good.
he used to do the showcase shows. Now he's on the biggest promotions here in the region. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. It's
I couldn't be any
incredible.
prouder for him.
Excellent. What about you? 5 years from now, you want to just continue to just do what you're doing?
Yeah,
Living lavish.
I enjoy it. I do
Yeah.
it for what AJ and T said. It's family. It's when Ben and I got into it, it was I was at it was a difficult time in our life. Going through family changes and things like that. Anybody who's been through that knows it.
Oh, yeah.
So what it gave us it gave us friends, it gave us a family, it gave us going to the chop shop or whatever was a thing, and these were our friends and they became family. So I'll give back to that because that's who it is, and I love doing it. It's fun to be part of the show.
Yep.
It's fun to be put on the performance and have the crowd, but to me it's about that locker room. And you mentioned Dick Lane earlier. Just last weekend at RWA, and anybody who knows Dick Lane outside the ring is some family, his little baby, and
Yes.
has had a lot of things going on. So last Saturday night at RWA, main event, Kellen Thomas and Dick Lane for the Triple Crown Championship.
Two good talents, right there.
I mean,
Wow.
Kellen is
Yeah.
unbelievable. Dick is great too.
He sure is.
And so Dick wins, and we all know what pro wrestling is.
Yeah.
We all know it's a story, and we all know this, but real emotion.
Right.
Like, here's a guy that we all know that we love, and Dick he broke down in the ring, and we're all,
It was real.
we're cheering, and that's real emotion.
Yeah.
And you can't, yes, it's a story and it's everything,
Yeah.
but that's real, and that's what keeps me there. That's why we do this.
Right.
Nothing beats like real emotion when telling a
Yeah.
story.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I had never met Dick until I had him on the show.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just so unique, and he talks for real like he does in the ring with the microphone. I was a little thrown off by that. It was a little different.
There's not much difference.
Yeah.
Dick Lane is Dick Lane. I don't think some guys play a character. I think that's Dick Lane. I think
He's a regional treasure. Simple as that.
I think
Right.
if you ran into Dick at Walmart, that's what you got.
Yeah. Nice. I'd like to talk a little bit about some signed guys from the area. And then
All right.
we're going to move on. We
Sure.
can talk about a bunch of guys that
Yeah.
you guys know really well.
Yeah.
Carmelo Hayes, Christian Casanova.
Mhm.
What do you like? Have you guys have met him and all that?
Oh,
You guys
yeah.
worked on shows with him or anything?
I don't know him well. I mean, anytime I've ever been, I've been on a couple of shows with him. Extremely talented, very professional guy to work with. I remember the first couple of times I saw him, he was like doing sort of the Michael Jackson gimmick
the
thing.
Thriller in New England.
I don't remember.
Nova.
I don't remember the first place I saw him. He did one RWA show, one RWA Legacy, and I think I might have seen him. It might have been
Probably
I think at the
XWA.
XWA, or it might have been like the old Chop Shop, they were doing like the Biff Busick stuff, So
Okay.
it was like, early, and I said, he's got something,
Yeah.
And then he kind of came back with a little bit of the top talent gimmick, but like super nice guy, super professional, and like, top talent. No, that is not a lie. He is
No doubt.
He's
I agree. Christian Casanova, I said for a while, was tied with Anthony Green, for my opinion, the best wrestler in New England for like the past couple of years.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because I have seen guys on TV who are not even as smooth in the ring as Casanova is. And I've been honored to kind of have him be an acquaintance, I've talked to him on numerous occasions. Very down to earth.
Yeah.
I have nothing but
Super
good things to
nice.
say about Christian Casanova, Carmelo Hayes, whatever you want to call him.
Right. Excellent. You just brought up the next guy on the list. AG, Anthony Green.
Anthony Green, one of my all-time favorites. I was able to do a seminar with him for it was Providence Wrestle Party, I think.
the
it was.
wrestle party. Yeah.
And I was able to get a lot out of it.
Oh, I can imagine, for sure.
Like that guy, it's crazy. He's like he's ask him anything about wrestling and he'll know it. He's like he's a walking wrestling encyclopedia.
Oh, he really is.
He's like super fan
Yeah.
from
He loves wrestling more than probably anybody I've ever met.
Yeah.
Seriously, except for maybe Damon Farrow. You guys know Damon?
yeah.
Damon's a great guy.
AG, I was talking earlier about Watch This Fight. That very first show for Joe's Kids, I had booked AG on. It was AG and Mike Montero, and those guys pretty much. And we had a pretty good show. The main event was Vinny Marseglia and Mike Bennett, but I would argue that AG and Mike Montero stole that show.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it.
And then I was able to work one of AG's matches at Wrestle Party. It was AG and Dick Lane we were talking about, and that was a fun match to do.
Right.
And he's great guy, always been personable, and anytime I've run into him in a locker room, always.
Excellent. How about the guy he got signed at the same time, I'm pretty sure, as AG did, but he didn't show up on TV for a while. Big Josh Briggs.
Josh, I've never I've seen him work. I've never been in the locker room with him. Like I've never been on a show with him. I remember seeing him at XWA when he kind of came through, and I remember I talked to him I was like the first time I had seen him, and he's a big guy and everything, and I liked him from the beginning. I just kind of said, hey, like this is the first time I've seen you,
Yeah.
And so he's a good wrestler. It's been fun to watch. I haven't had much contact with him, so I don't. But what I have is good, and we saw a couple summers ago a Beyond show. I think it was MJF's last indie show, and it was Josh Briggs and MJF. They did it down in Westerly on the beach. It was cool.
Wow.
It was cool.
That
I mean,
must have been an
very
incredible
talented
match.
guy. Very talented guy.
Yeah.
I've heard some things about him, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. But he's a very good wrestler.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna leave it at that because
I've heard a few things too. So you're right. We'll leave it at that.
yeah, I don't want nothing to get into.
I hear you. I know you probably weren't around him much because I think he was already in the WWE by the time you guys broke into the business. But what do you guys think of Kofi Kingston?
He was one of my personal favorites in WWE, and I was very happy when they put the belt on him at WrestleMania. I thought that was very well deserved.
Yeah. I've only known Kofi as in WWE and been great entertainer, and just what Ben mentioned, that title run, that build up to that was one of the we were talking earlier about emotions and everything. There was something real about that. There was real. And to get that on that level, was pretty good. And it was like he won, and like people loved that. It was like, can you remember the last time?
The raw emotion on that.
Can you remember the last time on that level there was like so much like real like happiness that a guy was,
I think maybe the last time it was really like that was, I hate to bring up his name and all that, but when Chris Benoit won the title. Remember Eddie won the title and then Benoit won the title and then Eddie came in the ring and the raw emotion that night I felt it at home through the television.
Whatever the circumstances that led to that run of Kofi, it was like they got lightning in a bottle, and it was like there was something there.
And I was a little surprised that they went with Kofi first. I'm grateful and glad they did. You know what I mean? But I always thought it was going to be Big E first. Yeah. And Big E's doing great things now too.
I mean, Big E, he's been a superstar since the beginning. It was just a matter of time.
Right.
So.
And Kofi made it to the WWE so fast. I want to say it was less than 3 years. And the only other one that I think that might be as quick, I think she was a little bit longer, but Sasha Banks. Yeah. She got there pretty quick too. What do you guys think of Sasha? The boss. I
mean, again, Sasha, she's the same with Kofi. I've only known her in her WWE run, but I mean, she's got it all. Yeah. I mean, there's just sky's the limit. I mean, I don't, and we were talking earlier about that when WWE has two, when Sasha, and Charlotte, they had a
Bailey too.
And Bailey too, but I really liked that Charlotte Sasha kind of rivalry in the beginning. There was some good stuff there.
Nice.
She's my favorite female wrestler in WWE. I think she's so good. Like all of her matches have been I've always been invested in and it helps that she's a local New Englander.
Exactly.
So that helps big time.
Right. All right, so let's talk about some guys, a lot of them that have been on your shows. That's what I did, or Brickhouse's shows. I know you guys are very familiar with. We already talked about Dick Lane, but how about Tom Billington?
Tom is...
He's a character.
Never met Tom, so.
Tom is, I've known Tom is one of those guys that I've known since the beginning.
Right.
Tom is like jack of all trades. Like, if you've ever been to an RWA show, and if you haven't, go to RWA.
Yes. You watching, go.
Tom does so much behind the scenes that you don't even know.
Oh, really?
Like the videos, the music, he like runs all of that. And I mean, he's tremendous in the ring. He is very talented, very knowledgeable. He's just one of those guys that probably doesn't get enough credit in the ring for what he actually does. But, and when he's teaming with Sean Leader in whatever they are, like right now they're the Losers, they've done the Epidemic. The two of them are like, they're best friends and they have a great chemistry. So when it's Sean and Tom, you're always going to get a great, you can put them in there with anybody and they're going to get a great match.
Excellent. What about you?
All I'm going to say is don't make Tom angry. Because he is one of the most frightening things you'll see when he's angry.
All right.
But aside from that, he's a really good guy. I've known him for a long time.
There was the one quick Tom story. And
please.
And Ben did, I don't even remember what it was. Tom comes up to me and, I said, Tom, you've known him since he was 11. Right. You go take him outside and you go do what you got to do. Yeah. Come with me. That's that family part. No. We're all,
Were you scared?
Yes. I'm like, I thought he was going to beat me up for a second. I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
But no, he's a great guy. And, one of my good friends.
Excellent. How about the strong man, Theodore J. Lifton?
The strongest man in the worldwide room.
I mean, that whoever he is, whatever incarnation he is, one of the just nicest guys you'll ever meet. Will do anything. like very professional in that whatever, if you're a promoter and you're booked, whatever you need him to do, he's going to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
You know, just a great guy to be around. We traveled, we went down to Philadelphia with him. One time we went to
Excellence
Pro Wrestling. We went down there for a show down there, and you know, we got like I was doing security, and he had a small part on the show. You know, we kind of, you know, you do the drives. You know?
Yeah.
But great guy to just spend time with, and just, you know, one of those guys that has even his very interesting outside of wrestling. You know, all his interests and
Right.
you know, and just a great
Cool.
guy.
I've never met him either. So
Oh,
a
it's
lot of these
fantastic.
guys I've never met.
Yeah,
What do you
fantastic.
think about the strong man?
I got nothing but good things to say about him. Like what Dad pretty much said is as accurate as you're gonna get.
Right.
So I think Dad said it best right here.
Professional, heart of gold. You know,
Nice.
just,
Yeah.
you know.
All right. Next guy is a guy that I love to watch wrestle, Robbie the Giant. I do. I love watching
I
him
love
wrestle.
Robbie.
Robbie I've gotten to know a little in the last probably couple years. You know, I knew of him, but the last couple of years, you know, being since I started working for NCW and, you know, Robbie's just a fun guy to be
Right.
around. You know, Robbie has wrestled all around the world. And so just one of those guys that just knowledge is just there. You know, Robbie knows how to put together a match. Robbie knows how to, you know, you can put Robbie in there with anybody, and no matter how big they are.
Right.
And Robbie knows how to, you know, you're going to get a good match because Robbie can work with anybody.
Yeah, he's super talented.
You know.
Robbie's a tried and true professional.
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like if you look up the definition of the term professional in a dictionary, it's a picture of him.
Right. Okay. Stephen Lust.
Chud.
Yep. Judd, love Stephen.
Steve Lust, you know,
He's from Lowell. I'm from Lowell.
I think that, you know, and for whatever the circumstances, Middlesex Express, and they still, when they're still working together,
Right.
they are as good a tag team as you're going to find anywhere on the
I
indies.
agree.
You know, it's one of those things that they know how to tag team wrestle.
Chemistry
Yeah.
is off the chain.
And-
Really, off the
And
charts.
Steve Lust on his own, he's one of the guys that, you know, I talked earlier, when we would go to training every week, Steve was there every week training, you know, so very knowledgeable. You know, he's worked with Ben a couple of times, and just, you know, knows how to,
Right.
you know, he's just a great guy to be around, fun to be around, very professional, you know, whatever. Again, one of those guys that, okay, what do you need? You know,
Right,
what do you
right.
need me to do? No ego, no nothing, you know. But yeah, I mean, Middlesex Express, I remember
Great tag
when
team.
the first time I saw them, you know, and I was like, these guys have got something.
Right.
You know, what they had something, you know, both the Steves and,
Yep.
you know.
Without a doubt, one of my favorite people I've ever known in this business.
Nice.
Like every time, he's always had my back, always made sure I was safe training with him. Just a great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. I got nothing but the best things to say about him.
Excellent. How about Frank Boltz? I don't bring up Frank enough on this show, I think, guys. I think he's very talented.
He is, you know, Frank is one of those guys that, you know, if you're on the indies and you kind of know, and I don't want to sound like I'm talking about, but, you know, some area, you know, you got guys and they get sort of, if you're affiliated with the wrong people, I don't mean that to be disrespectful, but sometimes people get lumped into a certain, but Frank is another guy that he can go.
Right.
Frank Bones can go.
Absolutely.
And he's another one of those guys that has a heart of gold. I've had him on Watch This Fight, and, you know, and he's
Right.
just, you know, he's a heart of gold, and he can go with anybody. You know, he's we talked about Robbie earlier. You know,
Yeah.
he worked for me. He was working with Robbie and
Oh,
everything, and it was
nice.
great. You know,
Oh, he must have learned a lot
Yeah.
from Robbie. Robbie could have learned from him, too.
yeah.
Frank, he is one of the most underrated people in the area.
Yeah.
Because, like what Dad said, sometimes certain areas get lumped in and you kind of get looked down upon,
Right.
which it's a shame that happens,
Right.
but what are you going to do?
That's just the
Right.
nature of it.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you put him with a really good opponent, he can go. Like if you put him with someone who's better than him, he'll step up.
Right.
Yeah. Frank is one of those guys that if there's a guy that, you know, maybe he's got a little more travel, a little more experience,
Yeah.
but Frank can step up
Guys
his
above.
game and, you know.
Yeah.
you know, and-
Excellent. Is he still in that tag team?
I don't know. I don't know his partner. I think they're sort of in and out. Mostly recently, Frank has been doing mostly single stuff.
Okay, that's what I thought. Because that's what I've seen. I think you guys might know.
First time I saw him though, it was with CIA, and then and then mostly.
I don't have nice things to really say about his old partner.
I don't really know him, so I can't.
He was dating a family friend.
Oh, all right.
You know
Well,
what
there
I
you
mean?
go.
So,
Oh, yeah.
But that's either hidden.
He fights for fun, so.
Yeah. I want to talk about a couple tag teams. The faceless ones first.
I'm not familiar with those.
Okay.
I've seen them. I know the name, and I've seen some of their stuff on YouTube. I just don't know. I can't really say so much about them. But talented. What I've seen is great.
Yeah.
When the last couple weeks of Thursday Night Throwdown, I would see they would come through with this other kid, Jay Bougie, who's really good.
Nice.
And I was very impressed by what they could do. And so I think I might have sent a match of them.
Yeah, I think Ben is always like, oh, hey, check these guys. He'll send me something.
Yeah.
He's always scouting for watch this fight. Send me videos.
Yeah,
I do that with music. Seriously, like my best friend and my girlfriend. If I see like a new song, I do the same thing. So
yeah, because I like trying to see what we can do, see how many people we can break in.
Right.
Because I think that's also important, to keep people coming.
Right.
Because they're gonna be like, oh, who's this guy? Let's go check this out.
Yeah.
Especially from something you already know.
The next one is the Hollywood Boltz.
Day one.
Yeah.
Would you say day one?
Yeah.
So that's when you met him, done day one?
They were on that very first show that we walked in the door.
Yeah.
Yep, the Hollywood Balls were on
But
that.
ready for this? They're in the very first match that we saw.
I couldn't tell you that. Maybe they did back there.
That's cool.
First night,
glad I
very
brought
first
them
match.
Chris and Greg are, again, they're those guys that are just professional, big hearts, just great great friends.
Yep.
Chris is, both of them, but Chris especially, we've had conversations outside of wrestling when he was going through stuff, he's just one of those guys that you could text him at 2 a.m. because you're just having you need somebody to talk to or whatever. And he's gonna answer, and he's gonna,
awesome.
he'll stay up with you till dawn if he had. He's just one of those guys that's just
nice.
You're blessed to have him in your life.
Right. Right.
And if we want to talk wrestling, very talented. Like those guys, don't get enough credit for what they do in the ring. Some guys, I think they're in that. There's always those group of people that whatever they don't get the opportunity, they don't get so you don't know about them because. But if you saw them, you'd be like, oh my god, you just sometimes it's about timing and opportunity and whatever.
Yep.
So.
Dad said it best. Those guys are awesome. I've been fortunate to know them both since literally day one of being involved with independent wrestling.
And then the first match you saw that night, too.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So
I'm glad I brought him up.
I'll tell you a quick Chris Dozer story. So it wasn't that first show, but it was like our first RWA. Like we went to RWA, and at the end of the show, I'm leaving, and Chris Dozer, and I've told Chris this story. I remember Chris Dozer is at the door, shaking people's hand. Thanks for coming to the show, and I was like, that was, and I was
you
like,
don't see that enough.
no, and I was like, that just impressed me from right there, and so
Excellent. We're going to bring up a great female wrestler down by your area, the Suplex Sweetheart, Isana.
Mom?
yeah, she's
Mom. All right.
That's what we call her. Because she's kind of
Very talented.
the mother figure of the RWA locker room.
yeah,
Right.
yeah. She's and it's been fun to watch her journey.
Yeah.
She's another one of those, kind of like us, where she was a fan.
Yep.
Then she was taking pictures for a while, and then her story is not that dissimilar to ours, where it was like one day she was just like, I want to try this.
Right.
So to watch her journey has been really, really fun. And
Absolutely.
she can wrestle.
Oh, yeah.
She can wrestle with the best of them.
Yeah.
And to watch her, like I said, journey has been a lot of fun, and just a great friend to be around. And
Nice.
It's not a coincidence why she's on almost every single promotion here in New England. It's
Yeah.
because she can go.
Booked everywhere.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That says it right there that
Yep.
you can go. And that's exactly, she can go with just about anyone you put her with.
Oh, absolutely. I agree 100%. How about a good friend of this show? He's been on a lot. Derek Simonetti. Simon. Sorry, Dick.
Side of spaghetti, whatever.
Yeah.
I've gotten
Another
to know
talented kid, though.
I've gotten to know him a little bit over the last few years. very, very knowledgeable. Just knows everything there is about wrestling. His promotion, Proving Ground, I've done one of their shows. But he is like, if you watch any of the Proving Ground stuff,
Right.
like I don't think he sleeps because
I know. You're right.
I don't think he ever sleeps because everything looks perfect. Like
Yeah.
behind the scenes, production wise,
Right.
he's one of the best around. The stuff he puts out production wise, how it's filmed, the graphics, everything. He, tremendously. He, the little, stories they do, whatever. And one of those guys he's just been wrestling, has fun in the ring, and we had him on one of the Watch This Fight shows and put on a great performance. And
Man, can he talk too?
yeah.
That's why, like I said, he's been on the show quite a bit.
Do you ever get a word in edgewise on these other shows?
It's hard to get in more words than me because I'm a big talker too. But no, really, he's one of my favorite guys to have on the show because he could just come on. I don't even have to have anything written down if I have time.
Yeah, yeah.
Honestly, the guy just, like you said, is so knowledgeable.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of Todd. I really am. How about three guys that are family, the Bacons? I know we talked a little bit about, but
I mean, what can you say? I'm sure everybody's talking. Brickhouse is, where I got my start, and Devin and David have both, during training, working with those guys, watching them wrestle, a very talented family, and all three of them just know so much about wrestling, about, how to wrestle and how to tell a story in the ring and that's huge.
It is huge.
And, anytime I get the opportunity, you see Teach someplace, he's always, it's always great to see Teach there. But, at the same time, he's a fan, but he'll be the first one to tell you, hey, how'd we do?
Right. And
it was all right.
That's what you need, though.
Oh,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
1000%.
Truth.
1000%.
Yeah.
I got nothing but good things to say about those three.
Nice.
All three of those guys have been an integral part of our wrestling journey.
Now, Devin's the nice brother. David's the mean one.
And Brickhouse is just Brickhouse.
Yes.
He's the crazy one.
Yeah. All right. How about Jamie Tucker?
So Jamie, I know Jamie, Jamie, I've watched, he's another one of those guys that it's been fun to watch his journey.
Right.
Because Jamie's only, I don't know, how old is he? 23, 24?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I feel like I've been watching him for 10 years, but it's probably less. But, I remember him sort of coming in and being a kid and it's been fun watching his journey. Like he's got a lot of talent there, and to watch him kind of, get out there and get on these other shows and show what he can do. It's been fun.
Excellent.
Jamie's one of my best friends in the business. Like, I've been fortunate to watch him grow from being like just on some of the RSCW stuff to now working with in fact, at XWE, he actually had a match with TJ Crawford, which was really good.
Another upcoming kid, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you wouldn't think that you would think those two would be like, huh? But if you were there, they stole the show that night.
Yeah.
Nice.
And that was probably, I can't say for sure, but I'm sure that was Jose. We've talked about Jose Perez.
Yeah.
He was doing a lot. I don't want to say he was doing the booking for XW, but he was part of that.
Right.
So, and I know there
like
was
an agent. Somewhat?
Yeah, there was a lot of guys that got, that like Jose's one of those guys that knows about, like you talked earlier, those guys that don't get the opportunities.
Right.
Jose's a guy who knows those kids and likes to give them that opportunity when they can. So Jose's been,
Nice. I got a little bit of long story about him later. I'll tell you when we're done. Because like you said, respect though.
Yeah.
I have so much respect for Jose Perez. How about Jason Devine? You guys know Jason?
I know Jason very well. Another guy that doesn't get enough credit for what he does in the ring. In the last 10 years, in my opinion, two of the best sort of indie tag teams around have been The Influence and Detox.
Right.
The common denominator between those two tag teams is Jason Devine.
Right.
He's one of those guys that knows how to tag team wrestle, knows what to do. He can do a lot in the ring, knows how to play, knows how to tell the story.
Right.
The Influence, when it was him and Mike Montero, or Detox with him and Ricky Medeiros, like such great tag teams, and the common denominator there is Jason. He's just And just one of those guys that's great to be around, you know.
And I'll also add this: he's one of the funniest people you can have in a
Is
locker
he
room.
really?
Oh yeah, he's
hilarious.
He's a little, you know, he's a little left to center, but that's in a good way, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome though how you went with that because my next two names were first Ricky Medeiros.
Yeah, Ricky's, Ricky's talent to the moon.
Right.
Just he can do anything in the ring. You know, I remember one of the RWA shows. You know, I was working the match, and Detox, and then all of a sudden, like the camera guy, is telling me, turn your head. Ricky, in the old chop shop, we had, there was like a bathroom, but there was a ceiling, on the bathroom. And all of a sudden he's up there and does like a moonsault off of there. And it was like,
Kid is talent.
yeah,
Absolutely.
talent to the moon,
Absolutely. One of the most underrated people, again, in this area.
Right.
And I'm happy that he's finally like getting like bookings like in some of the more legit places.
He's definitely, his name is being out there more for sure.
Absolutely. And well deserved.
Yes.
Well deserved.
How about a guy I actually talked to him recently and I'm hoping to get him on the show, Mike Montero, who is incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Mike is another guy, again, talent to the moon. It's nice to see Mike kind of, getting out there because he's, again, one of those guys, just give him the opportunity. It's nice to see Mike sort of getting on the road and getting those opportunities because, and a guy that not big wrestling history knowledge.
Is it really?
Oh yeah. He knows, you ask him, he knows everything.
Mike is a guy that you put him with anyone in any promotion, you're going to get the best match of the night.
Yeah.
Nice.
I think that's Mike's philosophy. Just whatever show he's on, steal the show.
Right. Which is a great attitude to have. You
want to steal the show. 1,000%.
Nice. Guys, want to plug your social media and stuff like that?
As far as, Watch Us Fight Wrestling is on Facebook, Watch Us Fight Wrestling. We have some things in the works for 2022, so keep an eye out on that.
Right. And you're on Facebook. Are you on like Instagram and all that?
Yeah, but nothing.
Just under your name?
Yeah.
All right.
Nothing. I don't have like a...
I'm on the Facebook and Instagrams.
Yeah.
My Instagram is Showtime Benjamin, and my Facebook's Ben Carcieri.
Nice. Guys, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thank
Thank you for having us.
My pleasure. Guys, we'll do this again.
Yeah. It was fun.
I can't wait to tell you my little Jose Perez story when we're
I
done.
can't wait to hear this.
Again, like you said, the Jose is actually one of the best guys I've ever met in New England independent wrestling.
I agree.
And his wife is too.
Yeah.
Claudia. Love her. They're really great. Guys, thanks.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. We're out. Peace. Hi, guys. I hope you're enjoying the show. Listen, I could use a little help to grow my YouTube channel. So if you could please like, share, and subscribe. That's most importantly, subscribe. Send me a direct message, and I'll give you a shout out here on the show. My YouTube channel is real simple. It's just my name, Leo Connors. Thanks in advance. Peace.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.